Several things stand out in a positive way, and of course, other things to fix as well. And we jumped right on it right away. Team was just very aggressive for correction and betterment and improvement, and it's taken a really, professional approach on finding ways to get better. And I think it was very evident in not only meetings but walkthroughs and practice. And looking forward to a great challenge and opportunity up in Raleigh this weekend in North Carolina State. So questions, please.
Mario, we haven't seen Jakari Brown since, we haven't personally seen him play since training camp. How is he progressing? How's he doing?
He's doing really well. Going to be a really great player for us.
Anything in particular that he's improved on, or just,
I'd say his reads, his accuracy. He's always run really well, but he's become a really good quarterback as well. He's had natural leadership skills since the day he set foot on campus. He was such a great player in high school. And we haven't had a chance to see him out in public yet, but his strides are very significant, and we expect him to be a great player.
Would you like to see him at some point this season if you can?
Well, he's developing, he's doing a great job, and he's going to be a great player for us.
Mario, Javonte Citizen dressed for the first time for a game on Saturday. Obviously didn't get in. Do you expect to see him getting into the game, this coming week or soon?
Not sure. He is cleared, he is ready, he is rusty, and we want to make sure that when he does get in there, that it's because he has a chance to help us win games. The best part about it is there's no question he is going to be fully healthy, but he's going to be himself whenever that point hits. I think it's a little bit different when you're a running back. It's such an instinctive position like a middle linebacker that your body is almost going to do things, at a rate and a speed and from a reaction standpoint that it just takes reps. So he's getting a lot of reps in practice. Everyone's really happy for him because what he went through was obviously a tough thing, but I can't put a timeline on when exactly he's going to get reps.
What did you see was the disconnect, or some of the disconnects in the passing game, and how can things progress from here?
Well, probably a little bit of everything. I think when the passing game is off, the passing game is so much about precision. You mentioned being synchronized, being on the same page, and all it takes is being off here and there. Some of it was coverage was good. Some of it was could have made a better decision. Some of it was a route could have been better, or protection could have been better. And so in essence, we could have coached it better. So that's the way we take it. You probably didn't expect a different answer. We're going to take it completely as an organization, but the improvements and the areas that we identified are all fixable and things that we have done well early in the year. So we've certainly gone at it, directly, bluntly, and have reemphasized and gotten at the things that we feel are going to make it better because we're capable of doing it and we expect to make it happen.
Kind of a big picture question, sort of similar wins in overtime the last 2 weeks. What can that do to build team character?
Well, I think, like we mentioned the other night, you kind of get to the point where you see so many scenarios that you start really believing that there's not many things that you can't overcome. And that's really important. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to simulate it in practice, but until you actually get into overtime, until you're actually pressed up against the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, until you have to come back and tie a game or take the lead late in the game and then defend your own side of the field. Until you actually do that in live action, it's just really hard to replicate. Well, we've had live work at that now and have had some really good responses and some good results, particularly in overtime. So belief and culture get stronger, which gives us a chance to get better.
Mario, it seems like the offensive line's only gotten better as the year's gone on. How have they gotten to the point where their public grades are off the charts and they're playing very, very well?
Mm-hmm. They got a lot of pride. They work really hard. They're talented. They're tough. Coach Mario grinds them. They believe in him. He believes in them. It's a great room. It's a great room. Those guys are a lot of fun to be around, and they are pushed really, really hard, and there's no sensitivity in there. None of them are going to, in any way, shape, or form, be taken aback when we get after them. And so it's again, it's a great room.
In your coaching career, what are some of the commonalities that lead to having a successful month of November?
Well, you got to get stronger as the year goes on, right? Hopefully you'll avoid some injuries. Your team leaders become your hardest workers and play their best football in clutch situation. The team starts understanding that it's not about, hey, someone making a play. The team starts understanding that it's about everyone doing their job and doing it really, really well. Because when that happens, the plays just come to you, you know. And as the year goes on, you know, it's week 9. Everybody around the country is in the same week. You know, our fatigue, our pain that we feel when we go out there to practice, it's not unique to us. Everybody's going through it. But to be able to wake up, regardless of what you feel, how you feel, and still have like that drive, that appetite to go get better, and understanding that Tuesday and Wednesday become your game reality. The teams that understand that and that push through that and on those days are the ones that really separate themselves in the closing months of the season. They also understand that those other days that there's walkthroughs, you know, the Mondays, the Fridays, that the mental intensity of those days has to match the physical intensity of Tuesday and Wednesday. So,
what have you seen from NC State on the film? They've stuck with a lot of other good teams.
They are physical. They are violent when they tackle. Their defense is extremely stout, fast, plays with great pad level, great technique, great fundamentals, great hands. They all get to the football. I mean, it's evident. I mean, you see them retracing on screens. You see them chase down plays that somehow broke and got behind them, and not many do. You see when they get to the quarterback, they get there with intentions to let him know that they got there. Just a really impressive team, really impressive. Their kicking game is equally impressive. I believe they've hit a 56, 57-yarder this year. They cover down really well. Again, technically sound. You know, you could tell when you look at their team, you look at their roster, you see a lot of guys their 4th, 5th year, some in their 6th, I believe. So, and a lot of them, most of them are high school recruits. So they've been in the program, in the system for a long, long time. So they've been repping the systems, and they know the systems really well, and you can tell. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you see a very, you know, I know the young freshman, Concepcion's done an unbelievable job. He's been the player of the week for the conference and whatnot, but, you know, I'm always focusing on the trenches, and they are physical and really, really tough and athletic up front. They move people, they finish their blocks, they communicate really, really well. Quarterback's playing really well. Just they're an impressive football team.
What issues does a 3-3-5 pose?
Well, it's just different. You know, it's very different than anything we've seen all year long. You always get some, you know, some type of version of an odd front. This 3-3 nickel. There's a lot of things that come with it. You know, pressure comes from everywhere. There are internal pressures. There's a field missile, the boundary missile, corner fires incorporated, safeties coming with it. And it's just, they're so athletic that if a guy is out of his gap, it's quickly filled. You know, they can replace themselves, and the way it's spaced out, it makes those passing windows difficult. Their structure on the back end, they do a great job in disguising it, because it could look like 0, it could look like quarters, it could look like some form of 2 invert, some form of 3. They do a great job communicating and actually executing some pretty complex, you know, calls.
Coach, how do you notice A.J. Allen grow within this offense since the start of the year, given that he's provided a lot over the past 2 weekends?
Yeah, we're starting to see the guy that we saw, you know, on film when he entered the portal, some of his high school film as well. And in camp, he was excellent. You know, there were times in camp where it's like, wait, this guy he's going to be a difference maker for us right away. And then I feel like as the season started, you know, different game plans, different opponents, I think that maybe slowed him down a little bit from an understanding and development standpoint. In the last couple of weeks, he's really picked it up. And you could see he's played against some, you know, obviously Clemson was a top 5, top 10 defense, and you saw the tough yards that he found. And then this past game, he was able to find, you know, he came out of the game, had a cramp back there and whatnot, but he really started finding his way. So he's making some tremendous strides, a lot of headway into just becoming a really, really good football player.
Would you say Is it towards the beginning of camp or towards the end that you saw him create those explosive plays, a line of scrimmage where he could create any seam?
Yeah, I would say that first scrimmage over at Hard Rock, you know, when you saw him kind of break out of there, he bounced a couple and some he split the defense on, caught the ball to the backfield well. So he's shown that he's a complete guy and he could do a lot of things. He's a really good athlete. You know, if he had to play another position, like if you say, hey, go out there and cover somebody, he could probably do it. You know, AJ's that kind of a guy. And he's just a really hard worker and a great human being, great family. So we're all really happy for him and for us that he's playing well.
How has Tyler's mentality been the last couple of days?
He's been good. I mean, Tyler is a resilient, tough guy. And, you know, he went through a lot last year. And, you know, it wasn't his best game. But like I tell him, like I tell all our players, it's never on one guy. You know, we all have to do a better job by you and for you. You know, your supporting cast and your coaching staff always has to do better so that you can do better as well. There's no flinch in him at all. And he's a really good football player, and he's going to play well.
Mario, did you think any of Tyler's the physical limitations after North Carolina affected him at all this past game?
It's hard to say, you know. Obviously, when you miss a week, I mean, it's still college football. When you're 18, 17, 21, 22, you just don't have all the reps logged like some of the guys. Again, and we mentioned that, you know, I don't know if it's completely analogous to, you know, what I was trying to put together in terms of pro football, but those guys have so many reps logged that they can maybe go a few days without, you know, getting the reps. And I think in college you have to. And he missed some time. You know, he missed some time, but we don't want to really put it on anything or rationalize it or make an excuse for any player. We just want to just look at it right in the eye and say, hey, let's go make it better, right? Let's, with confidence, with not being sheepish or shy or in any way, shape, or form buckling, you know, let's be men and let's go attack this thing the right way.
And have you seen Emory, I know he started that one game, in any way have you seen him grown since then, or his confidence or anything?
He got that ugly mustache he wears. That's about the only thing you see growing on him. But Emory he's like Tyler, he's like Jakari. Those guys are they're elite human beings. They're supportive teammates. They're competitors. They all want to play, you know. And they also recognize the importance of who has earned the right to play and the importance of supporting them and learning from them at the same time, you know. Those guys are so helpful throughout the course of the game in terms of support, in terms of something that they see on the back end that might be able to help the quarterback. So that's a great room.
You signed a highly touted recruiting class last year. I assume a lot of those guys are on scout team right now this fall. How are they doing? What type of looks are they giving you on scout team? Are you happy with their performance?
A lot of those guys are playing on special teams too, you know. Yeah, the scout team has been a really big difference. And scout teams here have always been the difference. You know, I remember being a graduate assistant and, man, that's like the Hall of Fame on the scout team, just whooping on the offense, and the offense coordinator can't figure out why they can't gain a yard in practice. You know, I remember the same thing as a player. So, again, going back to Tuesday and Wednesday, that's where that value comes in, because if it's as similar to the opponent as it could possibly be, and sometimes, you know, with some of the scout team guys that show up, sometimes it could be as good or maybe even better. You're going to have success on Saturday. Our team doesn't fully understand that yet, but we're starting to understand that. We still need more bodies. You know, we're still building the roster. We're still building the walk-on part of our roster as well, which is critical. You know, we recruit walk-ons just as hard as anything else, preferred walk-ons, and they're given great opportunities here. So, but we're making our way there, and yes, they're critically important.
And I guess Henry Harris probably on the pitch count on Saturday. I think he had like 8 snaps, and Don didn't get in. Do you expect to see them increase their playing time this week?
We do. We feel Don is all the way there and ready to go, and so is Henry. Last week the right move was both AJ and Mark, and it's kind of a neat balance right now, you know. And it's good pressure by them on themselves, right? A guy gets banged up, or a guy's missing a little bit of time, or maybe he's not at his best. Well, a couple guys there ready to take some carries. So it's the right kind of competitive culture. It's a healthy competitive culture, you know. It's got to have more of it at all the other positions.
Did you feel like Brashard had enough touches on Saturday in terms of offense?
I don't think you could ever get him enough touches. You know, that was the lowest, I think the lowest snap count we've had all year. What, we're 55 plays or something like that. I think if you include the penalty, 55 or 56. So, you know, we want to keep getting the ball in a lot of players' hands. You know, we weren't at our best on Saturday. So,
How did you notice Mark fit back in with the offense, especially with the touchdown he had in overtime after he missed some time?
I'm sorry, one more time, the first part.
No, sorry. How did you notice that Mark readjusted to kind of being back in the full swing of the offense after he missed a little time?
Oh, he looked good. You know, he looked good in practice. You know, the return to play specialist here, Joe Girardi, actually played here, and that guy, he's exceptional. By the time they get back to playing a game, it's not the first live action they've seen, and they've seen enough like high speed, like realistic practice looks where they're prepared to have a good game. So it was no surprise that he picked up right where he left off before he was hurt.
How do you think he's adjusted to the college game with the physically imposing back that he is, but he can also, create a lot of seams on the outside runs?
So far, so good. His best football is ahead of him, and quite frankly, I think for Mark Fletcher, sky's the limit.
Is there any update on Elijah?
Elijah, he got rolled up. You saw him. He came on out. He is day to day. You know, we feel pretty optimistic from what we saw this morning. After the game, it was like, well, you know, it's going to be touch and go. We're pretty optimistic. I think we're going to be in good shape.
I know the details haven't been released yet, but with the ACC announcing the new scheduling model and everything tonight, just what do you think about what the new look might be? Obviously, in general, because they haven't released specifics, but going to California and stuff and all that.
Well, I mean, the recruiting footprint, you know, grows, right? It stretches out. We head out that way anyways for that, but having coached out in the Pac-12 and whatnot, just recognizing there's just really good football out on the West Coast, more opportunities for us, for them, for our conference, for alumni, for recruiting. So I think it's all win-win. I haven't had a chance to peek at it yet, but, you know, at some point in time I will. But, yeah, it's all plus. Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
We have Offensive Coordinator Shannon Dawson. Open it up for questions.
Coach, what did you see out of your run offense down the stretch of the fourth quarter? I know they were getting it to Colby and Xavier, but then they also got it to Mark on the last play. What did you see from that?
Our run offense? Yeah, I mean, look, dominated the end of the game, really. You know, I mean, when it went into overtime, the first run play, you know, I was really hoping that we dented them, because if we did, we were going to run it straight down to the goal line, and took 3 plays, right? So, no, that was what we needed. That's why we went in overtime, right? We we felt like we could run it, and we did. And so we just didn't get it down in the red zone a lot during the course of the normal game, which we need to do that a little better.
What was your assessment just after watching the film, just the whole game? What happened?
You know, I mean, it was a weird game from the beginning. You know, I felt like we were very flat for whatever reason. Look, and if I knew the reason, I would bottle it and sell it, and you guys would never see me again, right? But I don't know the reason. We had a bad week of practice. We had a good week of practice. We had a really good week of practice, actually. I felt really good about it. I would give them some credit. I think they played very hard. I think their plan was very good. But we had some things there. I mean, it wasn't, you know, and we just didn't play well. We weren't hitting, obviously, and made some crucial mistakes. But ultimately, we won the game, we're very fortunate.
I was mentioned a couple times, I think after the UNC game and then again on Saturday, about needing to check down more.
Yeah.
I guess, how do you, I mean, when do you agree with that too? How do you get into director's focus maybe more towards guys in the flats?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that like every quarterback needs to check it down more, not just Tyler, right? And I think it's a process of learning. And the times he did check it down, you know, I mean, when AJ scored on that beautiful run, the couple plays before that, we threw it to Cam in the flats and he got 15 yards, right? Well, that play wasn't designed to specifically go there. We had levels and they just dropped and he dumped it down there. You know, we have to do a better job of taking what the defense gives. You get greedy and bad things happen, you know, and I don't think, honestly, the first pick wasn't greed because it was open, you know. It was a much easier throw than the wheel route in North Carolina, you know, and so it was he just underthrew it a bit, you know, and so I don't necessarily think that was like a bad read. I just think that, you know, it just ended up bad because the throw wasn't very good, but he can make that throw all day. But there are times that we get in trouble with not checking it down, and we're doing it more. We are checking it down more, but we need to check it down when we don't have it, you know. But it's hard to take aggressiveness away from a quarterback too, because when you got the shot, you want it. So it's a very fine line. I mean, you know, and ultimately, you know, we both live on that line. Tyler's not on an island in this deal. I mean, it's me and him, right? And so he knows that. I mean, I take as much blame as anybody when bad things happen. And so I have to put him in a better situation. And I have to program it to where it's clear to him. And we will. I'll do a better job of that moving forward. But, you know, he's more than capable. I mean, we know what he's capable of. And so, you know, everybody's going to have a couple bad plays.
And kind of in a similar vein, when it comes to like forcing things in the passing game, obviously Tyler and Xavier Shepard are very, very comfortable. They've been very close friends. It's been well documented. Have you seen him maybe try to force things to X, or, you know, maybe?
There's a few times where that happens, but I mean, that's also a comfort level too, and you don't want to take that away from a quarterback, you know. Are there other places you can go with the ball at times? Yes, but that's worked out a lot too, and so it's easy to point to the times it doesn't work out and say, you know, well, look at this. Well, I can show you 50 other times where it worked out pretty good. So, you know, I mean, it's the critique of bad things is really easy to do in life, you know, and so I kind of view things through a different lens in the sense of, you know, yeah, we didn't play great, but, and people are going to sit there and pick out the throws that we'd made that were bad, but, I mean, we made some pretty damn good ones in the end that put us in a field goal opportunity that got us into overtime, because the hardest thing to do is when you're not playing well is to keep going out there and trying, you know. And we did not shut down, and our sideline was great. We kept battling for answers. We kept searching for answers, and ultimately we made just enough plays to win the game. I mean, barely, right? And so ultimately we'll learn from the mistakes for sure, but I also am very proud that we had the mental capacity to keep going out, because we needed him to make some throws in the end, and he ended up making them.
It looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the teams that probably going into the games perceiving that they can't match up man for man with you guys athletically are trying to schematically just take away the down the field and kind of make you go sideways?
Yeah, I think there is an element to their plan, you know, being successful. But I also know, because I watched film, that we missed, you know, we could have hit some guys down the field, in the middle of the field, that could have burst some pipes, you know. And so it's a little bit of both. You know, I think that, you know, schematically, our pass game has always thrived against zone defenses. So I don't think that that's one that's like, oh, people are playing zone defense. That's the deal, you know. And so we have to be, you know, we have to be focused enough at quarterback to, when people are changing coverages, just to stick with your reads. You know, I mean, it doesn't really matter what they do. I mean, our progression is our progression, and, you know, it's 1, 2, 3. And so.
So is it a matter of more schooling in your system?
I mean, I don't know about more schooling. I think it's just mental discipline. You know, I mean, it's the, you know, and it's also, you got to factor in when you make a bad throw, you got to block out all noise, and you got to block out the doubts that creep into your head, you know. It's just human nature, you know. And so, and part of my job is to sit there and calm down on the sideline, calm everybody. Look, man, it ain't the end of the world. You know, when we get the ball back, we're going to go out and, you know, we're going to put some plays together, and we're going to do our job. And so if people haven't been in that situation, it's a very tough situation, you know, when things aren't going your way. But ultimately, you know, the true test of like character and resiliency is what kind of player are you when those situations come up, you know. And I don't know if I've been many places where we'd have won that game, to be honest with you. Playing as poorly as we did on offense, obviously defense picked us up. Special teams was great, and so as far as a team goes, I mean, it's a very positive situation that, you know, that we battled to the end and won it, you know. Now, ultimately, offensively, yeah, we got to do a better job. We got to uphold our part too, which we have been. And so, you know, you're going to have some games here and there that you struggle. That's just the way it is. But we need to do our job.
Coach, after Emory's first start against Clemson, how much comfortable are you as a coach in his pushing the ball downfield more and his running more of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with him pushing the ball down the field. He pushed the ball down the field in that game. And we had 4 or 5 plays in that game where he could have pushed the ball down the field more, and he checked it down. And, you know, every play isn't a push the ball down the field play. There's options on every play. And so, yeah, but I feel comfortable with him pushing the ball down the field for sure.
And also, on Jakari, how is he progressing? We haven't seen him since training camp, I guess.
No, he's progressing well. I mean, we made a decision at the beginning of the year to save his year and use him as an emergency quarterback. And so I had him ready last week to play. And if I needed him, I was going to play him. But the one thing about me is I'm a ride or die dude now. And so, you know, I'm going to let you work through your problems, you know. And so I'm not a big fan of pulling people early. You know, I like to see you work through your issues, you know. And so, and that's just how I am. And you know, and the Clemson game, I never felt like we were in a situation where Emory was out of control, you know. And I just didn't feel like that. And so, and I felt the same way this week. I mean, I know what Tyler can do, and so I trust that he's going to work himself out of it.
Is there anything benefit? I know there's 5 games left, right? And Jakari can play 4 and still redshirt. If he should get on the field, is there what's the most beneficial thing that could happen out of that for him? Would that not help him being in a game?
I mean, yeah. What's the question?
Okay, you told me how he's progressing well. Okay, and I guess my question is, what is the most beneficial role for him should he get on the field in the last stretch of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's beneficial to play for sure, you know. And you know, the question really is this: is we chose to burn a kid's year, one kid's year, and we chose to save a kid's year. And so when you choose to burn a kid's year, you have to use that year. and you have to use it to his best ability. And it would have been the same way if it was the other way. And so, you know, I'm trying to, you know, to utilize this year as best I can with the kids' year that I burnt. Does that make sense?
Has
I
there,
mean,
he's
you know,
played
that's
4
what-
games. Has there been any thought at all
No, I mean, they're both ready to play, put it that way. And so, and if the situation comes up, then we're ready to pull the trigger. And
has there been any thought at all to giving Emery a red shirt if you don't need him?
I mean, we could, like, moving forward, we talk about it every game, you know, I mean, we definitely could. And so the issue is more so at this point in the year, when you make that decision, you know, one kid's taking all the backup reps, you know what I'm saying? And so you'd have to flip that, and then how efficient offensively are you going to be with flipping it, you know? I mean, you know, and that's a decision really that me and Coach Cristobal would have. You know, our head coach would obviously make that decision over me. And so, but, you know, that is a week-to-week conversation with us.
It wouldn't be an
We'll get
issue
2 more for quick call.
unless you get towards the end and you haven't needed him in the line of fire, so to speak.
That's right.
The other question I had was, along the lines of what you were talking about earlier, this is Tyler's 3rd offensive system in 3 years. And what you do in spring practice and what you do in fall practice changes when you get into games because you're playing a lot of different defenses and people are trying to screw you up, obviously. Is that a factor for him at all?
No, I mean, it's not, you know, really you're trying to package things together in a way that, I mean, that is best utilized versus the defense you're playing. But, I mean, most of the time that stuff has been repped through camp. That's part of the process of the day-to-day repping of football through camp. You try to hit on everything that you could possibly run, right? Now, is the window dressing might be a little different when you get to the game? Yeah. But we've pretty much repped everything in our offense that could possibly be repped in the game.
There's a lot of,
Wrap up this question.
you mentioned special teams coming up big. I mean, around the country, there's not everywhere has consistent field goal kicking. Miami does with Florida Gals. As a play caller, how much of a luxury is it to know he's probably going to be money from any distance?
It's huge because, I mean, I don't even look out there when he walks on the field, you know. The kid's just unbelievable. But ultimately, you know, I'm not trying to rely on him either. I want to score a touchdown and win the game, you know. But, you know, thank God that we have him to go out there and kick it through when we need him. And we need to score touchdowns. You know, I mean, I wasn't sitting there at the end of that game trying to get in field goal range for him to tie the game up. I'm trying to score to win. You know, we just didn't.
Real quick, I know you gotta get moving, but the offensive line seems to be getting better almost on a week-by-week basis. How have you seen them continue to progress and gel as the season goes on?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that group is probably the biggest reason offensively that we're 6-2, right? I mean, we've leaned on that group. You know, the luxury here is I have a lot of different like areas to go to try to move the ball, and you know, if we need to rely on them, we can rely on them, and that's been awesome. And so those guys have been extremely solid week to week, and the pass protection was excellent. You know, it was everything they do is really on point. Appreciate those guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys.
We have Defensive Coordinator Lance Guidry. We'll go straight to questions for Coach.
Hey Lance, on the pass defense, are there times when, and I think you mentioned this earlier this year, which is why I'm asking you, when you're okay with a guy like getting a reception like the Washington kid that had 100-something yards the other day? I mean, there were times where like you weren't manning up on him or anything. I'm assuming that was part of the scheme, like what you talked about in the past.
Yeah, you try to take away their best plays, and if they have a tendency where they putting a guy in a certain spot, and you try to compensate for that, but when they put them in all kind of different places, it kind of hinders you, you know. So it's part of the game. If you stop them from running, stop them from doing things, they'll throw. If you stop them from throwing, then they'll try to run. So it's cat and mouse game the whole time, and I don't know. We find a way to win games, which is good, you know. So however we do it, I just hope we keep doing it.
The weekly Ruben Bain question. How does he continue to keep getting better and keep playing well and progressing, even as the schedule is tougher and you guys are playing ACC opponents and stuff?
Yeah, each week's a different week. Some weeks he might have more success than others. It just depends what they're trying to do to him. Going forward, they'll probably try to pay more attention to where he's at in the defense, and maybe they do things to it. But right now, they're kind of playing it straight up. So Ruben's doing a great job. He's a very powerful young man, and it just keeps getting better. He's a student of the game, so I expect him to continue to play well.
It seemed like Jaden Wayne flexed a little bit this past weekend. Just how have you seen him progress since he's gotten here?
He's progressing. The more reps he gets, the better he's getting. So he can do some things for us. He plays really hard, and that's the good thing about him. Even if he messes up a little bit, he plays extremely hard, so he's starting to make some plays, and his future is bright as well. So I'm excited about it.
We'll see. Do you think we'll see a little bit more of him? Because Akeem's obviously out for the year now. Nigel's probably out for the year. Do you expect to see more playing time for him?
Yeah, he'll play more, of course, as we go through it and we look at different packages and what they have on the field, what packages we put on the field. We may go bigger sometimes. We may go with Harrison Hunt maybe out of the defensive end, So it just depends. Dean's coming back healthy, which is good. So you've got some experienced guys, but Jaden Wayne definitely will get in there and he'll mix it up and he'll continue to get better.
Like James Williams was all over the field. How did you assess his performance?
He keeps getting better, it seems like. He's making big plays. He's being a good leader out there. So right now I feel like we're playing pretty good at certain spots. He's one of the bright spots, of course, and he needs to continue to play well. But he's making some big-time stops. There was two of them. One was, of course, going right before overtime where they kicked the field goal. The quarterback had broke containment, and he came out of coverage and stopped him short, for a first down. And, of course, in overtime, they motioned to the boundary, had a big stop, which forced the field goal. So he's playing well. He needs to continue to play well, and I think he's got a lot of good football left in him.
Defense came out big again in overtime. Just kind of take us through that period.
Whew. This one was tougher. The Clemson one I felt better because I felt like we were playing really good the whole game. This one was tough. I was glad we went on defense first, but I didn't know what we was going to get. And so I jumped into a bare front, and we stopped them on the first two downs, got them to third down, and then we made the stop. I felt good at that point when we forced the field goal. And when the offense came on the field and we was able to run the ball on first down and move the chains like that, I really felt good. I felt like we was going to score, but this one was a lot closer, it seemed like. I don't know. The other one I just felt better against Clemson. This one the game was kind of crazy a little bit. So tough game. Can't have too many more of those overtimes, man. I don't know how many I got left in me. So, but it's always good when you can win ones like that because it shows you that your team's mentally tough and they believe that they can win and they're finding a way. So it's awesome.
I was going to ask you about that, the confidence factor that gives them, knowing that they've been doing that. Is that a little contagious?
Yeah, I think it is, and it kind of goes back to the Texas A&M game when we got down and we came back. Of course, I wish we could get the Georgia Tech game back. I wish we could have got that stop on them. But toward the end of games, we've been playing really well, especially in tight spots, and I think that they're believing from those experiences. And when you have success like that at the end of games, it builds confidence to where you never think you're out of a game. So that's awesome for this program. This program hasn't done that in a while, and we're starting to learn how to win and win them close ones. And you know, different programs do it a different way, you know, and we're starting to get to where we're winning close ones at the end, but I don't like to go in them overtimes at all.
What do you think of the performance on third down?
They got some more third and mediums, and they converted some things. They had a good game plan. I thought they did a really good job. They're a football team that's getting better and better. You know, you watch them against North Carolina, and it wasn't just a fluke. They outplayed North Carolina, and they came in here, and at times they outplayed us. And they had a good third down package. You know, it's probably one of our worst days. I think they were 42% on third down, and we try to keep them below 40%. But I think we created too many third and mediums. We need to get more long yardage ones, and so it was average, a little bit below average, I thought, on third down. But they did a good job.
You talk about tough spots. I don't know if you keep stats on this or not, but at least from watching, it seems like you guys are really good all year long at tough spots. It's when you're scheming, you know, you're bringing your wrinkles in, and they seem to have been really, really effective. Where it looks like where you struggle sometimes is when you're in base defense. Mm-hmm. Are you continuing to see that? Is that?
Well, you come out early in the game and you don't know what you're going to get. You have no idea what they've been working on. So you call kind of base defenses, and or you can go to different. You can call out pressure, but you just don't know what you're going to get. You kind of want to feel like, okay, what are they trying to do? What have they worked on? And then you got to be able to counter. And through the first half, we were struggling at times, especially first couple drives. And then we kind of got them settled down. We started playing better. I thought we had a good third down run, but I think there was maybe a turnover. Something happened in the third where we kind of, you know, but I thought we were still in a good shape. And then we battled back offensively, and fourth quarter I felt good. So there's a little bit of cat and mouse game, a little bit what they were doing. But I thought the guys responded well. And what they're doing a better job at is being able to come to the sideline and adjust. Whereas before, I don't think we adjusted well. So we're adjusting well on the sideline, and each series is something different. So we've got coaches are doing a good job of seeing what the offense is doing and writing it down and charting, and then coming back and being able to correct on the sideline. So, yeah, we got a tough group mentally. I like our mindset. Sometimes when we go up by a little bit too much, we relax, you know, and so we got to keep our, you know, foot on the gas. But I think we got a mentally tough group.
What have you seen from on film from NC State's offense and from their quarterback, MJ Morris?
Does a good job. He throws the ball well. He's got a quick release. He can change his arm angles. He's a good athlete. He's a little bit more calmer than the guy that they started at the beginning of the season. They have a guy that plays wide out that comes into the backfield who plays running back as well. He's a good football player. He's a freshman, number 10. They do some good things. You know, they're a physical football team. I think their O-line is scrappy, really, really scrappy. And, you know, we're going to have to do some things to try to create some lost yardage plays early and get them on some third and longs. So we'll try to get as creative as we can, but we need to come out and play well. We need to start faster this game. I thought last week we didn't play fast. It really wasn't so much what they were doing. I just think that we looked a little lethargic, kind of like we did in the third quarter of North Carolina. That's kind of the way it felt. But then we got jump-started back, and we started playing well. So hopefully we need to come out quick this game. We don't need to come out lethargic looking. So,
what does it take to kind of contain that kind of freshman talent who can get it done on the ground, but can also create space for him as a receiver, as a freshman, Kevin Concepcion, who we mentioned?
Yeah, you know, he's very, very quick, and when he goes in the backfield, he runs like a running back. So there's different things that you have to do because he's a wide receiver that might be covered by a defensive back, and all of a sudden he's in the backfield. Well, then, okay, what do you do with your defensive back? You can't play him at linebacker. So there's different things you have to do when guys are doing that. So it creates problems. There's a reason why they do it. So they're going to try to get him the ball probably 10 to 12 times a game, touches, because he's a playmaker. And so that's the task right now is how do we combat him being in the backfield and do all the different things that he does.
How about Cam and his game? Obviously, it seemed a little up and down from my perspective. I guess made a big play, but also
he, you know, wish he could have made that tackle on that sail route. TC kind of undressed him a little bit, I call it. When they ran the naked, they had a guy going in the flat, but we had a linebacker covering him, and TC came down and opened that void behind him, whereas TC really needed to play, you know, top down a little bit, so he undressed Cam a little bit, and Cam was kind of behind the play, and he just missed the guy on the tackle. You know, he wished we could have got it back, but TC turned and ran and caught him. And when he caught him, we forced a field goal right there, which was a huge play. And I always tell the guys, if you give up a big play, if you get them down, you reset the chains. And if you can hold them to a field goal, it's worth it. But you can't let big plays go for touchdowns. And so that's one I'm sure he would like to have back. But I tell you what, I'll take that pick six every day of the week. So Cam's that type of guy. And both of the safeties, I think are playing well. Not great. I mean, nobody's perfect, but they've made the plays they need to play, to make plays, to win games.
NC State got a lot of offense against that Clemson defense last week. Do you see your team showing a similar level of blitz early on with rushing 4 or 5, or do you see the offense forcing that defense into corner coverage and the nickel coverage?
You're going to tell them the game plan? Clemson did a great job. Clemson held them to a little bit over 200 yards, whatever it was. I think they only ran 40 or 50 plays against Clemson. So Clemson got after them a little bit, but they made the plays they needed to make. They made some big plays, and we'll have to cat and mouse them a little bit. We might have to play soft sometimes and come get them a little bit. So we're just on Monday, so I'm still watching film and try to see what's the best scenario to try and win this football game.
With Harrison Hunt,
Go ahead.
with Harrison Hunt and what you mentioned and what he's been able to prove on this front seven, what makes him that versatile to be able to earn certain snaps on the defensive end?
Well, he's an athlete, so he's a big guy that really runs well. So he's kind of like Bain. I said it before. He's a little bit more of a pass rusher, not for us with power, but with speed rush. So he's a guy, you get him out on the edge, he's a good athlete as well, and he's a little bit bigger of a body. So he's a guy we can move around a lot. So he just continues to get better. Last week they took a bunch of snaps. We played too many snaps. We played around 88 snaps, I think it was, and that's way too many. We need to be in the 70 range in a football game. So, but if we got to play 80, 90, 100, whatever, we got to play them. But I think we took too many last week.
How good is it to have Branson being back?
It's nice. Branson's, we thought going in was one of the better defensive linemen we had, and then he got banged up a little bit, and we've been missing him. I mean, we've been without him and Mesidor and Najalik. That was 3 of the starting 4, so getting him back is awesome, of course. So he'll add a lot of depth so we can do more rotation, and he'll get a lot more snaps this week, which will relieve LT and Harrison.
Anything else? Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.